So have you guys had a chance to review the documents that came out today?
Yes.
We did. And
what are your thoughts?
my thoughts are that it wasn't pretty. It was kind of hard to look at to see what they're accused her and her brother and all of them of doing. And it was just hard to read the true facts of what actually happened.
Did it surprise you at all?
Some of it did, some of it did not. You know, being part of the family, knowing some things and the dynamics, you know some things. Some of it wasn't surprising, but some of it was right down shocking.
Reading it and knowing now what we know about Charles trying to get Lori help so for months and months, and even the family planning an intervention the weekend he was killed. I mean, is that kind of hard to stomach, Gerry, knowing all that those calls seemed to go unanswered, those calls for help?
He needed help. Apparently the police failed him because they should have listened, and all of this other stuff. The children's death could have been avoided, perhaps. I'm not a legal scholar, but I think that if they would have listened and took her in sooner and all that, it might have saved the children's life.
And perhaps his life.
Most of all, because he was my brother. I'll miss him.
Can you believe that it's been nearly 2 years, 2 years next week?
Justice delayed is justice served. I mean, they're gonna have to go to trial. A jury will decide. It's not gonna be me or you or my wife or anyone else. And I think it just doesn't look good for them.
Did you all have much interaction with Lori before all of this? Obviously, when Charles was still alive and they were married, and
well, you have to understand they lived in Hawaii and then in Arizona. So no.
In Austin.
Yes, in Austin.
And so they were all over the place. We didn't visit each other every weekend or
no
anything of the sort. But go ahead, baby.
Yeah, they were family events. Yes, occasionally it would run into her. Charles, on the other hand, traveled a lot to Houston, which is where we live, and he stayed with us. So for me, I had a lot of time with him alone, and it's very difficult for me because him and I got along very, very well.
Charles would talk to Melanie a lot more than me because I was usually out of town working or stuff, but when he would stay here, they would talk, and they were more, he could talk to her easier than he could me because I was his little brother, and he didn't want to feel weak or, I don't know what I'm trying to say. He just didn't want to.
He just didn't divulge a whole lot to Gerry, not private matters. Not private matters.
What type of guy was Charles?
He was a very sweet brother-in-law. He never called me Melanie. He called me Mel. And when I had gotten really ill right before he died, he and JJ came to visit me to make sure I was okay. And that meant a lot to me. And that was the last time I saw him.
That was about, a month before he died? Mm-hmm. Right. And I could tell you a million stories about him, but he was funny. He was a pleasure to be around, always positive.
Excellent father, not a doubt about that.
He was a good guy. Wasn't perfect, none of us are, but he was a good guy.
Good-hearted, very much loved his children, all of them.
So Melanie, that month before he passed, when he came to see you, did he give any indication that his wife was having, mental issues, or that there was any sort of, problem back at home?
Yeah.
Well, through conversations through the years, yes. But I mean, on the last time I saw him, actually, he had told me that Lori was going to be moving to Houston. Let's just say that, and that they were going to try to work it out. And I feel really bad because I did look at him and say, "You think that's a good idea?" And he said, "Yeah, I've got to make it work." You know, he loved her, and you know, to be respectful, you just don't, and you don't dig too deep. You don't want to disrespect somebody. I know I wouldn't want it. But we knew something was wrong to the degree that we knew that it was going to be this. Absolutely not. You know, because everybody has problems. Everybody does.
Yeah.
We had no idea that it was this bad.
So then July of 2019 comes. How did you all find out that he had died?
I was at work in West Texas, and my sister called me and had my other brother on the phone line. She did a joint call thing, whatever that is. And she said Charles was shot by Alex and he was killed. And that's how I found out. I didn't understand it, didn't know what was going on. And that's how I found out.
You said you didn't understand it. Did you think that there was anything nefarious or criminal at the time, or was it just more of a puzzled what happened here?
I just didn't understand it when my brother was dead.
Yeah, just shocked.
I couldn't comprehend that.
Yeah.
And then as the weeks and months and now years went by, and you see this complicated web, have you been able to wrap your mind around it?
It was hard to comprehend. Matter of fact, I think kind of slow, and things don't occur to me. And one day it wasn't probably 3 or 4 months ago when I was sitting outside on the back porch and I was thinking about it. Then all of a sudden it just hit me, all the emotion, and it was I'm not a mad guy or angry, but I went into a rage and an anger, and something just got to me and I didn't understand. And you know, I've never felt that mad before, that angry, because I knew finally it just boom, there it is. I didn't want to wake Melanie up, and I didn't want to, she wasn't feeling good that night, and the 2 of our grandbabies were sleeping with her, and I didn't want to go in there and let them see me this way, because I was in a bad way. I called a friend I used to work with, and she said, you know, you have to talk about it. You always hold things in, because I'm a quiet, shy guy.
Very.
And she said, you have to talk about it, man. This is national. You need to let people hear about your brother. So you need to just open up and start talking about it.
Gerry, I remember you calling me, I think in November, asking how you could talk to Lori, wondering if there would be a way that you could connect with her in the jail. And we spoke. That may have been the time that you were in that fit of rage, that you just wanted, I think you told me you wanted to punch her, to put it nicely.
Well,
yes.
I don't hit girls, number one, but if I were to hit any girl, I'd punch her in the throat. But if I would just like to sit down and look at her in the eye and talk to her, I really would.
It's probably not going to happen.
Well, I would like to do that.
You still would today. You'd love to just. And what would you ask her? What would you talk about?
Well, I'd like to ask her a couple of questions, but yeah.
Of course, I think always the number one thing he would want to know is why. Why? You know, and I often think that, why? Just don't understand.
I would tell her that she's not some reincarnated deity, that she's not some God on earth that's going to lead all the people to the end of the world when Jesus comes. And the creator of the universe will judge her, not me. And that gives me comfort, because I'm not a judge. I don't hate I don't allow that emotion in my heart. And there's probably a few other things I'd say to her, but my main rage, Nate, would be if Alex was still alive. My wife doesn't know this, but I almost didn't, but I wanted to go to Arizona and find Alex when he didn't know I was there and take a little baseball bat to his ass. Okay, so my rage is mainly directed at him, but she had a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, because that's how you really feel.
I think there would be many out there that would take more than a baseball bat.
Well, true, but I like I said, I'm not. Then that would have just made me as guilty and as bad as them.
Yeah.
For what I felt at the time.
Do you forgive her at this point? Will you ever forgive her?
Well, that's God's job, not mine.
Yeah,
and I don't hate her. I feel sorry for her in a way that what she's gonna face once the jury decides whatever they decide.
This really sounds weird. I pray for her every night, even though that's a very hard thing to do. You know, it really is. But that's the way I feel. That's the way my convictions are. Is that's what we're supposed to do.
What are your thoughts about her competency? The fact that right now in Idaho, she's not competent for her crimes. Are you hoping she will become competent? Do you think she's competent?
Oh, no, you know, I'll tell you something. She ain't crazy. That knew exactly what she was doing. And that's the truth.
It's really hard for me to say because I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know what they've observed. I have to think, since the prosecutor has agreed at this point, there's got to be something. But I think there's a difference between insane and competency. And I think that she will become competent really soon. I mean, I really do. Because you can't get away with this forever. It's not going to go away in the state of Idaho. We know that. So I'm just going to let the Lord handle that. Whatever's going to be is going to be. But I really rather not judge her competency, even though I do believe she knew full well what she was doing. But her state right now, no, I don't. I can't really even answer that.
I mean, do you think she should get the death penalty, serve life in prison?
If and when she is found guilty of her charges, what's that, 4 conspiracies or 3 conspiracies and 3 first-degree murders, whatever. I don't write that down. I don't. But death penalty, I don't know. I'd rather see her rot in prison for the rest of her life and enjoy that kind of lifestyle.
I'm a proponent of the death penalty, strongly believe in the death penalty. And if there ever was a case, if it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt that there's a death penalty thing, it is this. But I have to agree with him. I think sometimes that's the easy way out. And so in this particular case, no, I would rather just see her do the rest of her life in jail.
What are your thoughts about Chad Daybell?
I think that motherfucker is going to rot in prison too. Okay? There you have it.
I think he's a master manipulator. I kind of wonder about his competence, but okay.
Well, that was my question. Do you think he manipulated Lori? Do you think she manipulated him? Was it a combination of the two of them? Do you have any thoughts on who was kind of the ringleader?
I think that it could go either way. I think he was perhaps the ringleader and she fell into his trap. He was Satan and she was the virgin or whatever.
Or an idiot, maybe.
And just it's unfathomable, unbelievable that somebody could do or
I believe that stuff.
What they did or what they're being accused of doing. This legal case. You can't be that stupid.
Well, apparently some people can be.
Well, you look at all the documents that have come out, the text messages. I mean, that we're learning more and more as stuff comes out, and the stuff that they stored in the cloud, all the evidence there. I mean, sounds like it's a pretty solid case for the prosecutors in both states, Idaho and Arizona.
It does, and I read the indictment just today about she finally being charged with my brother's murder or conspiracy, and I read it and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, that sunk in real quick. What happened the day he was murdered? Mm-hmm. It was there. It's the facts. But the jury couldn't decide that, and we'll see. Charles was crazy in love. He was crazy in love with that girl. He just couldn't see it. He couldn't see it. And I couldn't give him any advice because we'd talk about baseball or his football team or
kids,
cars or whatever, the kids. But he just didn't see it. And if he would have talked to me about it, I would have said, dude, run, Yeah. And he tried to, and he came to Houston, and he was living 30 minutes away from me for the first time ever. And we were going to start fishing and hanging out, doing all this and that. But, I never got the chance.
Is it weird to say my brother was murdered?
It's a horrible thing to say because it's not nice. I mean, but I talk about it to other people. Yeah, my brother was murdered, and a lot of people know about it. Hell, it's worldwide. But yeah, he was murdered. But when I have this little 9-year-old grandchild, a young girl, and she knows about it. She's pretty smart for a 9-year-old, kind of like your young daughter is. And she asked me about Uncle Charles one time, and anytime she talks about it, I just lose it. Mm. And anytime pretty much anyone else talks about it, I kind of lose it. It's an emotional thing, and we're supposed to be macho guys and all that, but this is beyond.
Yeah, children pick up on it. She did. She mentioned it. She said she calls him Gramps, is always sad. And she said, actually, I'll be very blunt. She said, I want to know about the man with the gun. I said, what are you talking about? And, well, it's on TV, Nate. It's on the internet. They hear. When you realize how much it's affecting you, and even a 9-year-old can notice it, that you're not happy and you're sad.
What do you want the world to know about your brother, Gerry?
Charles played baseball. He was semi-pro. He was going all the way, but then he blew out his arm. And I played baseball too, and I'm 2 years younger than him almost. And I was the pitcher for this team, and we went all the way to the championship. I pitched every game. We won them all. And when it came to the championship, the very final game where it determined that we were the winners or they were the winners, he was there and stuff. And I'm out on the pitcher's mound warming up, and I'm 12 or 11. And the coach came out with a microphone, and he gave me the Pitcher of the Year award and all that stuff. Everybody's clapping. And so the first inning, I got yanked out of the game because I sucked. I threw 4 home runs. So they took me out of the game, and they wanted to keep me in, so they put me on second base. Then I had to bat 3 times, and 3 times I struck out. So after the game, Mom said, "Come on, boys, let's go home." Said Charles said, "No, Mom, I'm going to walk home with Gerry." And he did. He put his arm around me. And there's an old baseball quote that he told me. He says, "It's better to have swung at strike 3 and miss than to have never swung at all." You know, and we walked home and talked and stuff, and that was Charles. Yeah. It's all right, little brother, you know, you suck, but you're going to be okay.
You know.
Well,
yeah, pretty much.
That's who he was. He was just a decent person. I miss him a lot.